Most dealers barely know what's happening across town, let alone across the ocean. But today, we're bridging the US and the EU to talk about the future of auto retail, culture, and tech. No fluff, no filters. This is What the Prompt, and I'm sitting down with Ned Nedialkov, a 25-year auto industry leader, former head of sales for BMW Group in Bulgaria, US general manager and sales director, and now founder of Alterra.BG, helping reshape European retail one insight at a time. Ned, you've done something most people haven't. You've led operations in both the US and European markets. Let's kick it off here. What's the biggest misconception US dealers have about the way Europe sells cars?
Mike, first, thanks for inviting me on the show. It's quite interesting the perception that people get about car business in Europe. Generally speaking, I believe, talking to friends and GMs in the States, they believe that the car business in Europe is pretty much the same, like the one in the States, with a little more smiles, and pretty much that's it. However, I got to tell you, it's not exactly like that. Generally speaking, the car business in Europe, in general, is much more set back, much more relaxed, less process driven, and I think that you find it quite amazing about even the structural development of these dealerships. Like, for example, I'm not aware of, maybe except England, but any other country where they have F&I
Oh,
managers.
wow.
Most of the time, they expect that the salespeople will do all the job, they'll do all the documentation, send the paperwork to the banks, take care of funding. While in the States we have the finance managers, they're the pros of that. Salespeople build report, common ground, ask for the sale, and ultimately build a relationship with customers. There are lots of differences towards the approach of doing business. I think it has to do also with traditions. In the States, what I've noticed is that it doesn't matter whether you do business on the East Coast or the West Coast, you work for BMW, Mercedes, Kia, Hyundai, Chevy, you follow best practices. There are differences, but they are very small deviations from best practices. While in Europe, I personally think that there is no such experience from top down, and therefore you can find pretty much every dealer develops their own unique process. Not necessarily bad, but different. Different. And as a guy who grows up in this business in the States, going and running a European dealership, one or another one, it represents all kinds of different challenges based on the customization that they have. I think this is kind of, in general, what the main differences are. But there are still in Europe, new car dealers are not so much into the used car business. I think they are getting into the used car business as we speak. In the States nowadays, if you're not in the used car business and you're just a new car dealer, you're out of business. F&I, like I said, also technology as far as DMS and CRM is not at the level that you're used to in the States, where, in the States you already have CRMs and DMS programs that pretty much tell you everything about the customer. They can, with the AI, I know that you are big on AI. With the involvement of AI, you can also predict customers' behavior. While in Europe, most of the time, the CRM is not necessarily utilized, and the DMS is quite on a basic level. It doesn't give you the analysis that probably you're used to looking at. So lots of differences, same business, same product, same customers, but different processes. And I actually think that the customers are different too.
Yeah, man, that was a mind explosion. Because I think you're right. You opened up by saying I think everybody sees U.S. and EU car sales the same, and they're totally not. I mean, you basically just dismantled it. It almost sounds like for lack of better words, maybe it's almost like an independent culture, versus franchise. Different personalities running each store. So over here, you have levels, of course. You have your single rooftops, and you have groups with 10 to 20 rooftops, and you have some in the hundreds and things like that. Is Europe like that as well? Are there different levels to it as well?
Yeah, in Europe also there are some really big dealer groups. Generally speaking, where there is a big dealer group that is representing multiple countries, there you have process, you have structure. The real issues come with the small independent dealers, where they not necessarily have the culture and understanding of the car business the way you're used to, for example, or something that you
Yeah.
can find in big dealer groups with their reporting, with their KPI management, with their, if you want, onboarding, sales process, and so on.
Well, it's kind of cool, right? So check this out. As recent as yesterday and day before, I've started in AI, starting to understand within stores that there's a separation of AI technologies. For instance, your sales AI is siloed from your marketing technology, siloed from your phone system, siloed from your DMS. Well, that's in auto that they're siloed. What I'm learning is that other industries, they're already starting to talk to each other. They're starting to develop words like AI orchestration, meaning data's coming in one way, one door, let's say the sales door or customer experience door, and that workflow is being pushed into a marketing channel AI system. Why I see that relevant to what you're talking about is if we're already a little as an industry behind the AI workflow in EU and what you're talking about, they're even behind the let's say US auto retail workflow. It's different systems. It sounds like so. Definitely a lot of opportunity there for you, and we're blessed to be able to talk to you about this because most folks on this side, of course, didn't know that. Switching gears, man, I was blessed to meet you through Mario, a mutual friend of ours. He and I, and you, we all worked at Lithia. You've led luxury groups. You've built with BMW. When you think about the difference in teams are trained, are managed between regions, so training, what stands out?
You know what? What I like the most about Lithia, for example, and my experience there, and I can tell this is a culture at most US dealerships, is the culture of training, constant training. A car dealership is usually something as close as possible to a sports team. And I like the sports analogies because in order to be good in the car business, you have to adapt the sports mentality, which means you gotta train every day, you gotta be ready, you gotta have good attitude, and this is something that is the foundation of the culture these organizations have. Uh, I'm frankly missing that. I have not seen too many dealers in Europe who consistently train on the soft skills, which is building report, overcoming objections, how to make the customer feel good. Because in the end of the day, buying a vehicle or buying anything is actually something that we really need to focus on customer experience. We really need to make this memorable experience. Why not? Really. The difference is just the detail. It's, do you really care about the customer? Do you really focus on what their needs are? And can you really build a good common ground? But this is something that you have to train. It doesn't come natural. For some reason, most of the dealers that I talk to here in my region in Bulgaria, they seem to believe that this is a natural skill that you possess. So either you have it or you don't have it. Well, I really don't think so. I think that is something that can be learned if you want to, if you really want to, of course. But daily training, I think, is foundation of any good organization. And that's what, like I said, you worked for Lithia as well. I don't know what was your experience with Lithia, but I kind of grew up in this business in Medford, where the headquarters is, and there the culture of daily training was religious. I mean, you don't miss a daily training. And I'm very grateful for that. And I've adopted this in my next jobs that I've had throughout my career. But yeah, training is a big focus. Not only training on how to do stuff, but really this is your time to spend with the team to build, if you want, common ground with your team. Because your team, you've seen, I'm sure, managers who manage big teams, they have zero common ground, zero report with their own teams,
Mm-hmm.
and then they turn into bosses versus leaders, right? We all talk about difference between boss and a leader. Leader gets cooperation, boss only gets demands. And I'll give you an example. I used to have a boss who, actually, with our mutual friend Mario, we talked about this when I was there in Dallas. We used to have a boss who is a good car guy, but he didn't know how to get cooperation. Very good on process, very good on selling cars, but long term, he never sold his team. He used to tell us what to do. So
Right.
of course we did everything we can not to do what he told us to do. I mean, that's human nature. In the same, you know what I mean? But in reality,
Yep.
we want to do it. We did it just because we care of the customer. But it's one thing to be sold; it's different to be told. And we talk a lot about customer service, but we really need to focus also on employee satisfaction. I've noticed that if you get the guys excited, if you get them to be on board and to share your beliefs and your vision and the culture, then everything happens naturally. And this is one extended family. To me, a workplace should be an extended family because we spend a lot of time at work. And if you really don't have a good time and you don't share values, I mean that's a tough job to have.
Most definitely. Do you think in a store, who should be leading the charge on training and why?
I think that ultimately is the GM's responsibility. He installs the culture, you know, but I also believe that as far as operational training should be led by department managers. For
Mm-hmm.
example, training how to present protection package should be done by to the salespeople should be done by the finance manager. How to deal with customers overcoming objections, build common ground, and so on should be done by the sales managers. What the culture is, what the attitude means, and what's the vision of the company should be done by the GM. So I think that in this way, not only that everybody has their own specific training to talk about, but also gives opportunity to every manager to kind of build themselves and
Yes.
build the team based on how they like to work. Because if the GM does the training one way, but the finance manager has a different approach, a different belief of how
Mm-hmm.
this should be done, it doesn't work. Plus, frankly, gets the managers to become future leaders. Because when you train, you have to do it after that. You can't say do this, do that, and then when it's you have to do it, you suck at it. I mean, it's embarrassing. So I think this keeps the managers up to date. And to me personally, because I used to do a lot of the training at my stores, it really motivated me after that when I'm with a customer, tough customer. I have
Mm-hmm.
to do what I say, so I have to be good. I can't lead a training in which I'm telling them how to manage a certain situation, and then when it's my turn with the customer, do exactly opposite. It's embarrassing. You lose credibility.
So let's talk about early your early times in the car business. Here's why. I feel a lot of viewers of our show are maybe first time car salesmen who may have come from Europe like yourself. And, they're seeing somebody on the screen who, wow, went, with Lithia, became a general manager. I mean, let's get real, Ned. There's not many salespeople that become general managers. I mean, I would honestly, I've been doing this 19 years. I would say what your top 5% of, or maybe 1%ers become general managers. So you may be a shining star to many of our audience members who can look up to you. What is some advice you would give a green pea, new on the showroom floor?
Well, the advice I want to give them is to uh, really train. Goes back
Mhm.
to what we talked a little bit ago.
Good.
They need to train They need to understand how this business works, because this eliminates stress as well. Oftentimes people in the car business, they say, well, we are very stressed. Are we going to make money? Are we going to sell cars? The moment this goes through your head, this means that you don't understand the business, because this business is about numbers, as you know. You need to talk to so many people. You need to do so many demos. You need to do so many offers. And you need to close the deal. If you train daily on your skills, you understand the numbers, there should be nothing to worry about. And then the key here is for them to maintain their growth as not only as a car guy, if you want, but maybe as a businessman, from standpoint of learn how to deal with stress, learn how to deal with worry. They need to love people. They need to understand people. They need to understand that when the customer in front of them is not just some victim that's going to pay them their paycheck, but it's a human being that will probably remember them for years to come. I see some people that I sold cars to 25 years ago. Some of them I remember, some of them I don't. I really don't. But it makes me so happy. I see some people on the street. Even this time when I was back in Portland, I see a customer of mine who's like, hey, Ned, do you remember me? I didn't. But I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember you. So apparently I saw this guy, a Nissan, back in 2001. And that's why I say that when you deal with customers, we really live memorable experience based on our personality, the care that we provide, the smile. We touch people in special way that we don't always understand and know about it. But if you ask me what advice I can give to salespeople to be successful, I hope they have good mentors, because I've been lucky to have really, really good mentors that helped me, in the beginning. And then they just have to perform. To me, performance is key. And I was a GM, so let's see, 8 years into the car business. I was 8 or 9 years into the car business. I was a GM. So you have to go for the different jobs, but you have to be good at the previous job in order to get the next one.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
if you're a weak salesperson, you're not going to be a good finance manager. If you're not a good finance manager, most likely you're going to be a weak sales manager. How you're going to be a GSM, and how you're going to be a GM if you really are not good at the job. So I would recommend for them to stay focused on the job they are doing, be the best that they can be, believe in performance, and when they need to make their promotion to the next level to be absolutely unquestionable, which means that if you're going to sell cars, tolerate the floor, dominate the floor. Then there is no question who should be F&I. When you're top F&I, there is no question who should go to sales manager, right? That's what I can say. But it's a fun business. It's a business that we gain a lot of not only professional but human experience. We meet a lot of people, which makes us really rich as far as in experience, as far as life. I don't think that I ever acknowledged that when I was back in the car business, because we meet a lot of people. This is a lot of life experience. I mean, you see an 80-year-old guy, he's very experienced. Well, he's not. He's a wood chopper. He doesn't talk to people. He meets 5 people in a week. I meet 5 people before 10 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? But this, I think, is the advice, the belief, the performance, to be good students of the business. You have to be a good student and to have the discipline to train and to learn how to maintain positive attitude, because attitude in sales positions is a hard thing to maintain. We've all seen these salespeople that when they're top, when they're excited, they're happy, they can sell anything to anybody. But then the more time you get into the industry, the less excited you get. Natural. So this is how to get excited and to see the opportunity every single day. Like you've been for 19 years, that's a long time. Think about it. I think this is what is probably the best advice. I don't think there is a silver bullet. I really don't think so.
Right. I will share an experience yesterday. I was at the store and I had to take a truck to the service drive. I just sold a pickup, and I took the customer to F&I. He's waiting to get it to finance. I jump in his truck because I put a sold sign in it. He's not picking it up for a week later, right? Check this out, Dad. This really happened, dude. I driving the truck, and it was making a clunking loud noise, and I'm like, This truck, now, granted, it was a courtesy transport vehicle, had 3,000 miles on it, but that's why the dude was buying it, right? Because it got such a discount. Dude, I'm driving it. I'm like, what's that noise? Don't see anything wrong. I get out of the truck, Ned. Freaking passenger rear tire is low to the ground. It's deflated 100%, right? And I just thought how crazy that was. And so I take it down to the service department. Sure enough, it just needed some air, but I was like, maybe it just need replaced. But here's what I wanted to share with you. While at the service department, I met a customer, couldn't find her car, and so I just, hey, how's it going, ma'am? Do you need any help? She says, I'm looking for my Blazer. It's done with service. I can't seem to find it, and I took her to the car, and she looks at me, Ned, and she goes, I just love this Blazer. I just love this Blazer so much. And it was a 2024. And I said, ma'am, you know what? It's this type of experience you have with your car that makes selling cars so worth it, because the average person doesn't get to see what we get to see at the car dealership, and actually people that love and have that relationship where they love the car. Never, I mean, I don't know when the last time I was stopped and say, "Oh my God, I just love this watch."
Yeah.
It's
No, we
genuine.
get used to it. When you're in a car
Yeah,
dealership, you see thousands of cars all the time, and you simply get numb to them. This is like with used cars, used car inventory, old age units.
yeah,
When you have an
yep,
old age unit that's been there for a long time, it's like invisible. Nobody even sees it anymore. I actually love to sell. They always give bonuses for old age units.
oh yeah,
I love to sell all these units. The only thing
yeah,
you need to do is show it, because with time, salespeople find reasons why not to show it. It's not the right color, it's not the right equipment, the car is too ugly, too expensive, too cheap, right? But then when you get a customer, I always used to sell a lot of these bonus cars. When I see a customer,
yeah.
100% of the time, they're gonna see this car. You know what I mean? And
You got to open that
the
door.
most surprising sales I've ever had. I remember once I saw this Pontiac Aztec. Remember these things?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Wasn't it voted the ugliest car at one point?
man, this thing was special. So I would show it to every customer, not thinking that I'm going to sell it, but to build report. Because
Yeah,
I tell them, hey, I don't know what you're looking for, but this is my favorite car. Check it out. See how good looking it is. And they always start laughing, right? But then I remember once I had this lady, nice, good looking lady. So I do my routine, right? Let me show the best looking car. It's so cool.
right.
Check it out. So I expect that she's going to start laughing like every other customer, right? But she was like, wow, that's a very good looking car. Man, I didn't know how to respond. I'm not used to that. I'm like, okay. She bought it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So you
yeah,
never know what people like, they don't like. And I've learned not to try to make decisions for the customer. Let them make their own decisions, because it's all about perspective. To
right.
somebody, an ugly car is a good looking one, and vice versa. But you're absolutely right.
That is probably the number one key, I hope, takeaway somebody gets from this, because a lot of times we put our selling shoes on where we think the customer doesn't want something, and we tell ourselves they're talking themselves out of the sale, but the reality is we might be helping them talk themselves out of the sale with
Yeah.
our opinion. Wow, that's pretty cool.
It is
Um,
absolutely this about the opinions. Actually, I just had a conversation with friends of mine from Portland, and we were talking about how sometimes salespeople would make a decision on the customer's behalf, trying to do it on their best interest. But sometimes they hurt the customer by doing that. I
yeah,
remember I had a customer on a couple that wanted to buy Dodge Durango. So for some reason, I really thought these people cannot afford this Durango. I don't want to kill them with this payment. They cannot do it. So I try to
yeah,
do everything I can to switch them to a different car, thinking I'm providing them a good service. So
right,
they didn't buy the car,
right,
and they left. I called them the next day to do a follow up. So they told me, yeah, we bought a car. I'm like, what did you buy? And they're like, Dodge Durango. I'm
right,
like, oh my God. So since this experience,
yep,
I learned I am not in a position to make decisions for the customer. I'm there
right,
to be their friend, to serve their needs, and to give them memorable experience. That's all.
Yeah. When you and I first talked, for setup for this conversation, that's where your and my heart aligned. I believe in a 5-star customer experience, and you do too. And I think that is what selling cars is about. Of course, other folks may disagree with that, but that's okay. You know, we're not all made the same. Well, number one, it sounds like you missed the U.S. and you need to come back, but that's a different episode. I'm thinking, because it doesn't sound like the experience across the pond is the same as it is over here. Do you can you walk me through a typical European buyer today? What do they value?
Well, first of all, there are lots of positive things about the car business in Europe. See,
Yeah.
like every other thing, it has positive and negative things, or things that I
Hmm.
perceive positive and perceive negative, because there is no absolute positive or negative. But for example, customers that walk into a European dealership, they are at ease. As you know, when the customers walk in the US dealership, they're kind of stressed out, a little worried what experience they're gonna get. Most likely they've had a bad experience in the past. So I'm sure you've seen them too, but I've seen literally customers come to a dealership and run out. Where,
Yeah.
right? Which is
Oh yeah.
very not normal here. When customers come in, here they are not pressured to buy,
Okay.
but they're so much not pressured that most of them they're not even asked to buy. It's kind of the other thing. In the States, you go, customer walks into a dealership, they're gonna be asked to buy 10 times. Guaranteed.
Yeah.
In Europe, they go to buy a vehicle, nobody's gonna ask them to buy most of the time. Most of the time, nobody even asks them to buy, which is strange, when you're used to another thing. But overall, customers walk into the dealerships like in Bulgaria, for example, their customers are confident. They're gonna be greeted there. Nobody is gonna push them. They can request any information they want. It's gonna be provided. No problem. But frankly, I think that it is a disservice when you don't ask customers to buy.
Agreed.
Because they're there for a reason. And as you know, as
Right.
I know as a consumer, sometimes I need a little push. And push,
Right.
I don't mean somebody to push me, buy it, buy it, buy
Hmm.
it, but I need a friend, right? This is the whole sales training. Is a friend who says, hey, Ned, the car is good, you're here, let's do it. There is a reason why I'm here. It's a good decision. Do it. Right? We all need that.
Right.
And but overall, what I can tell you is a big difference is that the salesperson would usually take care of the customer from the meet and greet to prepare the financial paperwork and submitting it to the banks. On one hand, is a good customer experience because you don't switch people, right? But on the other hand, it doesn't call for volume, right?
Okay.
It doesn't. If you're a big dealership, think about: can you really have 100 salespeople who understand F&I?
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
think so. And chase 100 people to understand, is the down payment, did the down payment go through? Is the funding taken care of? Not possible. But I have to say that through the last 6 or 7 years I've been here, I've seen big improvements in the digitalization, into focus of taking care of the customers, the way the vehicles look upon delivery. Because I've seen deliveries where the car is literally off the truck, just washed, and that's it, no PDI. But
Yeah.
yeah, but I can tell that this has changed. It's just different. This is cultural. It's
Okay.
cultural. In the States, customer is king. When you go to a store to buy socks, the moment you walk through the door, everybody's very helpful. They're, hey, welcome, how you doing? They're smiling, right? Where, especially in Bulgaria, I can talk about Bulgaria, we still don't
Uh-huh.
have this culture. We are not as cheerful, let's call it, especially in the beginning. But maybe this is some tradition. I don't know.
I was on a post the other day, and a sales trainer went out to Australia, and in his post he mentioned that it takes up to 2 weeks for the average Australian, and maybe this is once again regional, maybe it's a specific
Mhm.
city in Australia, but it takes about 2 weeks or up to a week or something for the deal to be financed and finalized.
All right.
is it maybe speed of registration? I mean, do y'all even do registrations in Bulgaria? Is it financing the loan? Is there maybe something slow that would cause a like, because it's so fast for us in the States, right? Like a customer
Wow.
might say, so our brains are like, I can sell this to you today and I could deliver it to you in an hour.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our technologies talk to each other so fast now, from our DMS to talking to Route One to
Yeah.
getting your
Yeah.
deal finalized,
In-house
as soon as,
registration,
right,
license plates. Yeah.
are those things
Most of this stuff is
possibly?
regulatory and maturity of the financial markets, but
Mhm.
regulatory as well. You don't have automatic approvals. You don't have, especially in Bulgaria, there is no like, how you have beacon score on your credit
Yeah.
reports.
Yeah.
There is no such thing. So every deal has to be looked by buyers who are, I mean, it literally takes 1 to 2 weeks to purchase a vehicle. The registration
Okay.
is slow, the insurance process is slow. Actually, you'll be surprised how expensive the insurances are.
Wow.
Insurance vary between 4.5% and 5.5% of the sales price. This
Hmm.
is your yearly premium, which, if you think about it, there is no such thing in the States. It's much less money. So
Right.
this was very surprising for me when I had to buy a car. And I look at the insurance premium. I've never paid such insurance in my life. I've never
Wow.
had such a car payment in my life. Than my
Yeah.
insurance.
Uh-huh.
So, but yeah, I think it's regulatory. Most of it is regulatory, and it's a problem. 2 weeks. Think
Yeah.
about how many things can go wrong. But you know what? People are used to it. If you
Yeah.
have a deal in the States and you know that the customer, you let them go now, and you're gonna wait for them 2 weeks,
Yeah.
you know that this deal, 50% chance this deal is not happening, right?
Yeah.
So first time when I started kind of working around dealerships and deals here, and I see people that 2 weeks we're gonna slow them down, man, I was like, we're gonna lose these people. I mean, for sure we're gonna lose. But they somehow make it. They're patient. They're used to it. They're not
Yeah.
nervous. They're used to it. That's how
Yeah.
we do it. It's 2 weeks, whatever. You know, if
Wow.
you tell a
Yeah.
guy in the States it's gonna take 2 weeks to get your vehicle
Forget about
financed
it.
and registered, I mean, forget about it.
Forget about it.
I mean, it's zero chance, especially in a metro
Um,
market.
I've heard, maybe, man, maybe it's been like up to 2 years. And me and you touched base on it previously. EU, or is it moving to the agency model? How is that working out? Because I know they were talking about bringing that over here to the States, and it's got shut down. Basically, the dealer model works. It has that, and I ask that because I think about the salesperson's a paycheck in Europe or Bulgaria. Are they commission based? Are they hourly based? If it takes 2 weeks for a deal to fund, how's pay work there? Maybe all these things are tied in together. Just makes it
Usually,
okay.
yeah, usually, first of all, about the pay, I'm going to start from the back. The
Hmm.
pay is, generally speaking, is not commission based on gross. It's usually a
Okay.
flat pay. I don't like it, but
Okay.
that's the model I see. And the more expensive the vehicle is, the bigger the pay is. Again, I don't get it.
Hmm.
Just because
Hmm.
the fact that I'm selling $100,000 car, this doesn't mean that the dealership made money,
Right.
right? So to me, this is different. As far as the agency model, yes, some manufacturers, BMW including, Mini including, I know that pretty much everybody from the Highline. Mercedes is doing it in some markets. Audi is doing it. BMW is doing it in lots of markets, where the dealerships become just an agency where they pretty much deliver the vehicle for the customer,
Yeah.
but the relationship between the customer and the manufacturer is what drives the sale. So the dealer cannot do discounts. He has nothing to negotiate. The model is designed in a way that the vehicles belong, for example, to BMW, not to the dealer. So it's not the traditional model where BMW wholesales the cars to the dealer and dealer then deals with them. No, the cars belong to the manufacturer. The demo vehicles belong to the manufacturer. The all discounts or whatever rebates or whatever program there are strictly by the manufacturer, and the dealer gets a flat pay. This will naturally cut pay for the salespeople and for the dealership management, I would think so, because
Yeah.
the margins are much less. Plus, realistically speaking, this model doesn't call for who knows how much talent to the dealer. I mean, you're not negotiating. You're showing the vehicle. The customer is doing all the paperwork mainly online for the manufacturer. Something like that, not something, but just like the Tesla model. I think lots of manufacturers like the Tesla model. They
Hmm.
finally achieved their goal of getting rid of the dealers, you know, because this is
Yeah. Yeah.
really what's all about. I can't tell I like it. I don't see it happening, frankly. If you ask me, do I think this is sustainable and do I think this is going to work? I don't think so. I don't think that the manufacturers, no matter how big and powerful they are, generally speaking, they are intrigued and intimately familiar with retailing cars. And I think that from what I'm hearing about results from different markets that are doing this model, very confusing results. Very confusing results. I don't know how the manufacturers are going to tell the dealer and require the dealer to make these huge investments into infrastructure. Dealer standards that change every 6, 7 years. These are millions and millions of dollars that how is the dealer going to recoup them? And especially if they go into electric vehicles, which I mean, right now I think it is a little more relaxed about electricity. But if a
Hmm.
dealer goes, if 50% of the cars that you sell are electric, and you deal with pretty much minimal margin, how you going to make money?
You mentioned that some of the auto bodies or OEMs anyway in Europe are very much almost like a governmental body, right?
Well, there some of them are very big. When
Yeah.
any organization, car manufacturer, car dealership group, real estate companies, they all reach a level when sometimes when they get too big, they lose speed, they lose flexibility. But usually this gets fixed through recessions, through tough times, and this is when I remember the time when. Back in the day when there was a recession, 2008, 2009, I was part of Lithia back then, and I know that the company had to make some drastic decisions
Mhm.
to make it. And these
Right.
drastic decisions that they made back then are paying off today. And that's why
Yeah.
they're, I believe, the biggest in the world, because back in the day, they made decisions that with no recession, there is no way they were going to make. When
Yeah.
times are good, there is enough place for nephews, nieces, friends, and who knows who else.
Yeah.
But when times are tough, somebody got to actually do the job.
I'm going to switch gears a bit, and we're going to talk about what you're building. You are you've been a builder, and definitely want to hear about it. I don't want to make this a product pitch, but I do want people to know what you're building. Alterra.BG is different, and I'm going to do a quick screen share where we'll be able to pull that up. Let's see, screen. Let's go. There you go. Okay. This is what you're building. And can you give us a 60-second version?
Well, frankly, Alterra.BG is built with the customer and dealer in mind, because we wanted to create one platform where there is frankly nothing unique about it. We just combine a few different models at one place, which for especially for Bulgaria, some of them are different. They are, let's say, innovative. But the whole idea is what? A marketplace where individual consumer car dealerships, car lots, and manufacturers can advertise. They can list their inventory, and we don't wait just for traffic to visit Atara.bg, but we actually take this traffic and dynamically advertise it all within all the social media where the customers are. We have a lot of automatization, so literally, if you're a dealership, you don't have to do absolutely nothing functionally in order to advertise with us. The
Okay.
other portion of Atara.BG is a area where a customer can buy cars from us directly. A car from us directly. They sit at home, they submit a lead. We have the sales department gets in touch with them. They go through the vehicle selection, give them an idea about financing if they want to finance. If everything is fine, then our finance department goes in. They start the process of getting the vehicle approved. and getting the vehicle registered. So you can literally buy a vehicle from the comfort of your home. For Bulgaria, this is different. This is new. It requires the sales team, it requires the finance team, it requires logistics, but we have the team to do it. The next portion that is kind of interesting about the Tara, there is a place where you can get useful information for people who are not in the car business. Well, I mean, they're basic stuff, but they're basic for you, basic for me. They're not basic for the average consumer. What's the difference between insurance and warranty? What's the difference between financing and leasing? What's the best for you? What does it take to maintain a vehicle? What should you look at when you buy a vehicle? All kinds of information that we try to use avatars as well. That actually these are videos that some people like to get information more through videos. And the last portion of Atara is a place where a consumer, a dealer, or a car lot or a manufacturer can advertise their current promotions, for example. And we take these current promotions, we create digital campaigns for them where we generate leads, email and phone leads for the dealer, for example. And we have a BDC department that manages these leads, then drives them into a traffic to the dealership. So we try to be a platform where if I was running a dealership, I would use it. I have my inventory advertised for where the people are. I have my campaigns with tactical messages uh, managed, driven with leads and BDC with high quality. And I get access to consumers that not necessarily would know my dealership or my brand. So this is kind of what's behind it. And we're new on the market. We're a few months old and we are gaining speed, but we believe in it. We like it as a product and we see the need. So
You probably can't see on my
I
screen,
see it. I
but
see. Look at
oh,
different
you
cars.
could.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Very man, I'm digging this, man. This is a great looking site. Um, I want to buy some of these cars.
Let's do it.
Too bad my brain doesn't know what 150 Bulgarian, how much that is, but
$75,000 roughly.
where do I sign?
I'll send you the form.
Hey, you know what? When I visit you, I'm gonna have to get a car, so we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Man, I love what you built here. You and I talked previously about what you're building, and this is where our hearts aligned about customer experience and your training. And I asked you, I was like, your team that your BDC that you're building over there, are you using what you learned in America and you have that culture over there? And you mentioned yes, you did. I'm glad that you were able to take what your foundation, that what you grew from in Lithia, in U.S. auto sales, and you're doing that over there.
Well, it's best practices, and best practices work everywhere. What I've learned is that best practices and good customer experience, the approach keep it simple, stupid. When it is simple, when it is easy to understand, when it is focused towards customer service, and easy to stress again, easy to understand, no complications, it works.
Yeah,
And aside from that is just common sense. I mean, common sense is
yeah.
common sense. There is nothing you can beat it.
Agree, definitely. Shout out to my internet sales manager, Peter Reese. He tells me kiss every day.
Yeah, I love this kiss thing.
Ned, I appreciate you going through the Alterra.BG platform. Dude, it looks amazing. It definitely looks amazing. In closing, if this conversation hit home for you, drop a comment. Share it with someone who still thinks AI is just a chatbot. If you're running a store or building something that bridges people, process, and platforms, hit us up. If you know Ned, share this episode out with your friends. He's a good friend of ours, and he has deep relationships with the U.S. So a big thanks to Ned Nedialkov, a real one in both hemispheres. Follow him. Follow what the prompt, and remember, the future of retail isn't regional, it's relational. Ned, do you have any closing statements?
Well, Mike, I appreciate you taking the time. For me, it's fun talking to you, and I know that we share the same vision, the same ideas, not only about cars, because cars is just something that we do for living, but you really have to think a certain way, in order to be successful. And you have to, the main thing I love about you is you care about people. I appreciate me being on your show, and I would love for us to collaborate together in the future. And definitely anything that I can provide you with information or whatever it is, whatever you can share also, since you're so much into the US market at the moment, I would love to use. But to me, it's a great time. We can go forever.
Definitely. And here's, I'm glad you brought up the idea we've been talking about, the across the pond concept, whatever you want to call it. US, EU, US, Bulgaria, just two car guys talking, me and Ned. So that's what we're thinking. We got a great concept going. So we will be dropping that, of course, for our audience to take a look at. We'll be adding that to our list of podcasts. So be on the lookout for that with me and Ned in the future. Now, Ned, I want to, for those folks who spend their living talking to dealerships, let's say vendors, folks who have to go and talk to a GM, a decision maker who has a tech product. You've worked closely with general managers. You've been a general manager, dealer, owner, decision makers across both continents. What's your advice to someone trying to speak their language? Do you think you need to have sold cars to earn the right to be in that conversation?
Uh, well, you can't always talk to people that sold cars, that provide value for you as a decision maker. But it will be helpful, but it's just not what life is. What I always recommend to vendors is not to go with these high pitches that usually they come in super excited and they want to convince me they're going to change my life. Or I had this vendor that came in once and he's all dressed up and he's super excited. I bet he read some video, read some article how to look executive, or who knows what kind of video he watched. So he comes and meets me. He doesn't even know me. He's like, "Hey, my name is so and so. I'm here to fix your dealership." So immediately from the get go, he insults me. I mean, how does he know my dealership is broken, right?
Right.
So I ask him, okay, what's broken? If we're gonna fix something, what we gonna break? But see, there you go, example of a bad first impression. And
Right.
lots of these guys are kind of younger, newer guys that they don't know exactly how to behave. So instead of them being natural and come from the heart, I mean, you're a salesperson, I'm a salesperson. We have a respect for somebody that tries to make a living. But let's be real, let's be down to earth. When they come across as this high pitch people that are there to change the world, to me, it's not a positive vibe. I don't get a positive vibe. I don't know about you. To me, it's not
Yeah.
very positive. So my advice,
Yeah.
if you ask me, be natural, be to the point. What's the benefit that you can bring to the table? And in the end of the day, you know what? If you're nice, respectful, and again, speak with your heart, not like a robot, people across the table usually feel that, and you unlock their empathy with them. And when you unlock the empathy, they start listening and look at you in a different manner.
That's a spin on it, audience. That's a spin. Today's prompt from Ned was exactly that. Be natural, be yourself. Okay. Today's prompt for what the prompt is this: if you're building for dealerships, don't just build what looks good on a demo. Build what works in real life. Clean your data, know your customer, and never pitch something you wouldn't use at your own store. This is what the prompt, where real auto people talk real AI. We'll see you in the next one.